That was
beautiful.
Good. That was excellent.
Too loud? I don't want to wake you up. Okay, disclosure any pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
What is going on?
Hearing in? None? Moving on. We've already been previous minutes. Right here. That's right here. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Deputy Mayor Faulkner. The minutes of the November 1st, 2016 council meeting be approved. All in favor? Concerns, comments?
Charlie can't see it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Additional items? Disclose? Anybody got anything? I have one. Okay.
I have one.
Ron has one.
It'll be a surprise.
It'll be a surprise. Okay.
Oh, does Ron have Ron Elliott? Ron B.
Ron E.
I have one if nobody beats me to it.
All right, Judy. Anyways, okay.
We're here.
Here. Moved by Councillor Caldwell, second by Councillor Elliott, the Town of Council convenes in the Committee of Adjustment. All in favor? I'm assuming Ron is. He adjusted stuff. Okay, so then there I am right now. So this is my. So I will call this public hearing to order, and any decision reached by the committee today cannot be used to set a precedent. Each application considered by the committee is dealt with on its own merits, and no two applications are exactly the same. This public hearing is to consider a minor variance application file number A616, Blake Murphy. And I'll chair the meeting and call on the Secretary Treasurer to state the following.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Subject property is legally described as Part Lot 84 and Lot 89, Thompson Survey, Plan 61R 20435. It's an address of 460 Walker Street, former Town of Palmerston, Town of Minto. Proposed variance is to permit construction of a single-family dwelling with an exterior side yard of 3.048 meters or 10 feet, whereas Section 12.2.1.5 of the Town of Minto zoning bylaw requires a minimum exterior side yard of 6 meters or 19.7 feet. Other variances may be considered as required. Notices were mailed to the property owners within 200 feet or 60 meters of the subject lands and to applicable agency and posted on the property November 4th. Staff was also circulated and comments were received from the Town of Minto building inspector, and Stacy Pennington is here with those comments, and a report from Wellington County Junior Planner Elizabeth Martelluzzi, and those comments are in your package. The county planner has some concerns with the application.
Okay. Stacy? That one on? Is it on?
Hello.
I'd have to push it.
Okay, so this application, obviously, as stated in the purpose and effect, is to decrease the exterior side yard setback from 19.7 feet to 10 feet. Basically the property is located, a little bit of background information, right across from the town sewage treatment plant. It just is right outside the setback there for residential development. The property is zoned R2 residential, but if you look, the property to the rear of that, so it actually fronts on Walker Street, which is kind of at the top of the drawing there. So the relief would be sought after on Low Street, just to the east side of the property. This location is actually to the rear is industrial land, and the blocks shown in orange there is residential properties. There's some commercial property across the road. So the purpose of this section of the zoning bylaw is basically to ensure that the streetscape is kind of all in line, all the houses all line up. In this case, there isn't really any foreseen residential development on Low Street in the immediate area because of a couple things. Obviously, the town boundary there would have to be extended, which is actually North Perth, so that would be another issue. And there's industrial zoning to the rear, and that's if the official plan designation is also industrial. So there's quite a few logistics that would have to be worked around to have further residential development in that area. Also, the general provisions of the Town of Minto zoning bylaw allows for a porch encroachment of 9.8 feet. So if there was a porch on the property, it would be allowed to be built within 10 feet of that street. So this is why the town staff has decided that we would be in support of the application. If you flip to the county comments, they did have some current concerns with the application. They didn't consider the variance to be minor because it basically almost cuts the setback in half. After kind of consulting with them, they said that we made good points, but they're commenting solely on the legislation there. So that kind of sums it up.
Okay.
I guess I
Just
should.
before you take that diagram away, the one on, no, the other one. That one right there.
Zoom it
Okay, so that little plot of land beside the subject land and the word subject land, what is that?
That's the unopened
Extension
road.
of Low Street, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so and so that's a road allowance.
Yes.
So there's
Open
nothing
road
gonna
allowance.
be nothing gonna be developed there.
Yeah, it's an open road allowance. It basically leads off to the town and county and town of Palmerston urban boundary.
Yeah, and you and you said, where does County of Perth start?
Basically at the end of that.
End of that purple section.
At the end of the purple section. That's
Yeah.
right. So that's not an issue, really. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
No, I just one comment on what the county's talking about. I don't think they quite understand the situation. I don't have a problem with the fact that that street allowance, am I right, Terry or Stacy? It's fairly wide anyways. So
Yeah, Public Works had no concerns. I didn't talk to Mike because he was
yeah,
on vacation.
so yeah, on vacation. Oh my goodness. How did he manage to take vacation?
It's not vacation.
He's working for his livelihood. So yeah, so I mean, I understand as a junior planner, I just don't think that they've understood that.
Yeah, I think that they went based on the legislation. What they said is right and true, but they didn't consider all the local factors.
I kind of go with the town staff on this one, that I think it's well within our variance. So it is a minor variance in my mind. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Thanks, Steve. Oh, I'm all over the map.
That's all right.
Here, no, that's, yeah. Okay. Okay, where am I, Bill? Ask if there's any agent or applicant wants to talk on it. No. I don't, does anybody want to refute it? I don't see anybody in. I'll look at it. There, no, they're good. So basically at this point, I'll, Secretary Treasurer provides a resolution to the committee to consider. Upon resolution being carried or defeated, the notice of decision and committee adjustment is to be signed by all members of the committee of adjustment in favor of the decision. I will now, is everybody in favor of the?
Well, Mayor Bridge, I have two resolutions,
Yep.
one to deny and one to approve.
Do the
What I'm hearing, I hear the
first.
approve one.
Okay, let's do the approve one first.
Council approves the application by Blake Murphy for property as I already described it, with an exterior side yard of 3.048 meters. We have no conditions on that. The committee believing the request to be minor, desirable for the appropriate development of the lands and to maintain the intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw, approved the application. As I mentioned, as we do these, we now have to add, as a result of new legislation, a brief explanation of the effect of any written and oral submissions that had on the decision. We have put in here for you, unless you want to have something else, County of Wellington planner comments outlining exterior side yard setback requirements, Town of Minto staff comments outlining impact on adjacent occupied lands and future development. That's all we're saying. We had those comments, you considered them.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, second by Councilor Bergson. All in favor? Carried. Okay.
So as long as everyone's in favor, then please sign the decision.
I guess at this point, anyone wishing to receive a copy of the notice of decision to please sign the request of notice of decision prior to leaving the council chamber following the meeting. I'll now adjourn the public meeting.
But I think they should have to stay for the whole council.
Yes.
Mr. Paul can go, please.
Not necessary. Yeah. They have a livelihood to do, eh? Moved by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, second by Councillor Anderson. The Town of Minto Committee Adjustment convenes as a committee of the whole. All in favor? Carried. Okay.
That's for you, sign or pass on.
Here. There you go. Okay, you got it back into. Oh, there's the thing.
Uh-oh. That doesn't look good.
No.
There you go.
No, I get it back into.
This little guy there.
That's the guy I wanted. There he is. All right.
Public meeting.
Public meeting. That's it here, right? No, that's not.
Probably right here.
I'll get my technology going here, everybody. Just relax. Okay, there we go.
You want to make that bigger?
Yeah, and make that bigger.
That was that little guy right there.
Oh, look at that. Okay, now we're having we're lots of different things tonight. It's kind of like the smorgasbord of municipal affairs. So
Yes,
it is. Now we're going into a public meeting, and I will chair this public meeting. The purpose of the meeting, decision of the appeal committee, CBO Terry Kuipers. Terry.
Great. This actually is a hearing opposed to.
Sorry, not
public
yeah.
meeting.
You're right. It is a hearing.
So the purpose of this hearing is to hear an appeal on the designation of a dog as a dangerous dog under our municipal bylaw. The appellant is a lady named Carol Fell, and it relates to a dog attack that attacked, obviously, her dog attacked one dog formerly owned by Mr. Bill Cheeseman. Town of Minto's dog licensing bylaw has defined a dangerous dog as one who, in the absence of mitigating factors, has significantly injured a domestic animal. Once the dog has been deemed a dangerous dog, the provisions in the bylaw require the dog to be either kept inside the house or inside an enclosure to keep kids from obviously having unauthorized access to it. Requires the owner to carry public liability insurance policy of minimum $1 million. Also requires the dog to be microchipped, the property posted that there's a dangerous dog resides on the property. Also requires that the town be notified if they move. If the owner disagrees with all these provisions that are tagged with a dangerous dog designation, the bylaw has a process of an appeal of that either decision or terms within the decision. So all those items. So council has the authority to amend, rescind, or confirm the deeming of the dog dangerous. So what you're going to hear in a few minutes is exactly the nature of the investigation in behind it, what we have all determined, as well as giving the appellant and the individual who lost their dog an opportunity to essentially inform you of what the occurrence was about. So essentially, council has all the authority of the bylaw enforcement officer who put it on, only have greater authority because they can change any or all of the provisions within the bylaw in terms of the conditions, what the owner would have to do in order to keep the dog in Minto. So I believe
Cam.
Yep, Cam's gonna speak first and give kind of a outline of what happened.
Mayor Bridge, members of council. So on September 19th, I received a call from Mr. Cheeseman explaining that on the 15th of September, approximately 4 p.m., while they were out walking their dog Maggie, a German Shepherd came running at them. Mr. Cheeseman picked up his dog, and she squirmed and got loose. And this is once the dog hit the ground, this is when the German Shepherd attacked and bit Maggie. After that, they took the dog up to the Hanover Veterinarian Hospital, where it was determined the damage was too extensive and the Cheesemans opted to have Maggie put down. The police were also called to look in on this, and I spoke with the OPP officer on the 27th. He spoke to Ms. Fell regarding the attack, and there were no charges laid. On the 3rd of October, I caught up with Mrs. Fell at her home, and she told me that she did not witness the attack. She said she was putting her dog in the car when her dog Daisy ran off. So she approached the Cheesemans then and thought Maggie was okay. She said as it growled at her, and at no point did she refute the fact that the dog did attack the Cheeseman's dog. So on the 6th, I received a letter from the Hanover Veterinarian Hospital describing the injuries as well as pictures of the injuries. And I don't know if you want to really see the pictures, but Stanley, I think you have them here.
Does anybody want to
You
see
guys
the picture?
wanna-
We're not going
I don't
to
need
put
to see
the
them.
pictures up on the screen just
They're
because
not
they're
pretty.
not very nice.
No, I don't need to see them.
So anyways, in the letter from the Hanover Veterinarian Hospital, it said, I'll just give you parts of it. It's basically why the dog was put down. Due to contamination of intestinal contents, chance of full recovery was very poor. She would have required days of painful hospitalization before they could be confident whether or not she would survive. And then while we cannot say with certainty what caused Maggie's wounds, we can say that the spacing of the abdominal tears and the size of the single cutaneous penetration wound are consistent with a level 3 or 4 bite. That's from Dr. Ian Dunbar's bite scale from another larger dog. So on the 6th of October, that's when I met with Ms. Fell and served her with the letter deeming the dog as dangerous.
Any questions for Cam?
Nope.
Mary Lou?
Just one very quick. Which dog growled at Carol Fell? Was it
That would be Maggie, the
the one that
Cheeseman's
was
dog.
attacked? Okay.
No, you'll,
Yeah.
Mrs. Cheeseman, you're up next, and you can maybe go over any of that. Okay, thanks, Cam. Just stick close if we need you.
Mayor Bridge,
Yep.
just to add, under the bylaw in place, we were to schedule this within, I think, 5 days.
Right.
15 days. We spoke to, and that would have been our previous council meeting. Mrs. Bell could not attend that meeting. So with her, what we thought was consent, we scheduled it for this meeting. She has subsequently advised us after notices went out that she cannot make this one, but we had given notice. We have other people here. The Cheesemans are here. And so we're proceeding without them being here. And frankly, I don't think there's any reason they have to be here, given they had the opportunity and chose not to attend.
Plus, they sent a letter.
And they did send a letter as well.
Okay, so if I can have if the Cheesemans would like to come up and give us their story on it, you know. And if you both, yeah, and if you're both going to talk, make sure both mics are working. So that's, yeah. Okay.
Cam has pretty well laid out the details. Just some contradictions to what we saw and what this Carol Fell claims she saw. We were walking home. There was no provocation from Maggie. It was an unprovoked on her part, but she had been walking along, and she likes to stop at poles and sniff, sniff. And I was watching her, and I just turned my head this way, and this lady's dog was barreling across Norman Street, and I picked Maggie up, tried to protect her somehow, but she knew something was happening as well, and she got out of my hands, landed on the ground, and that's when this huge dog attacked. Now,
The marks on your face.
Yeah. Now, the marks, she said the dog bit me in the ear. The dog didn't bite me in the ear. It was her claw, or it was her footprint, because she was in so much pain that she was just squirming. And Carol Fell says that, claims that she came up to us to see how Maggie was. Carol Fell stayed behind her car and made no effort to call her dog back, made no effort to come out to apologize or to check to see how Maggie was doing. She just hid behind the car. Now, I don't know whether she wasn't used to somebody yelling at her or not, but I was quite heated up. And in the meantime, I got a little dog that's squirming, it's in intense pain, and we just had to leave the scene. No, that lady never came near Maggie. Maggie was in such pain that she couldn't growl.
Any questions for the? First of all, I'm sorry for your loss. It's always,
Thank
I've had dogs all my life, and they're tough when you have to put them down.
And when we finally got to Hanover, the vet looked at Maggie. Even before we left home to go down to the vet, she had the two pouches on each side of her underbelly, and this was the abdominal wall had been punctured, and these were the intestines trying to escape. And this dog had actually bit right into the intestine, and the vet, when I did the exploratory surgery, could see that infections and whatnot were starting to come out. We were told that it would probably be a $2,000 to $3,000 vet repair, and if they sent her down to Guelph to the university, we could be talking anywhere $5,000 to $7,000. But the vet we listened to him, took his advice. Maggie would not have survived the trip to Guelph, nor would she have survived
The surgery.
And whatnot. So we were out of without a dog. And Sandy, she was up for 2 weeks, couldn't sleep at nights. Just couldn't get used to the fact that where's our little dog? So we have replaced her. We have a new pup now, Shih Tzu again, and that's helping out. But I was looking at this comment from Dustin Fear. Just bear with me for a sec. Anyway, Dustin Fear said that he approached Carol Fell and felt that there was no response from Carol Fell at all as to being sorry, concerned for Maggie, concerned for us. She just passed it off. And that's what we felt. She never said a word at the scene. Not a word.
Her first words to me were, "She's never done that before. He's never done that before." And I said, "Well, I guess there's a first time. It's too bad my dog has gotten this now." That's what she meant about me attacking her. I didn't say anything to her.
Yeah.
The dog that attacked your dog, did it then return to her? She was putting the dog in the vehicle?
As soon as that dog finished his business with Maggie, it went darted back across the street. And when I finally walked over carrying Maggie, I think it had managed to get into the back seat of the car. But this dog had a leash, but there was no person on the other end of the leash.
Okay, so it did have a leash on it. It got away from her with the
Yeah,
leash
it
and
was
then
under
returned.
control.
So it wasn't running at large. It went right back to the vehicle again. I'm just trying to get a vision of
But
what
she
happened.
did not call it. Why
Right.
didn't she yell for
Mhm.
it? It may have come back, and our dog wouldn't have gotten it. That's what we're saying.
Anything?
Mayor Bridge, I was just wondering, have you ever had any confrontation with this animal before?
No.
Or know of anyone that has?
But we've heard many in town that have around us. They've all said that we know the dog.
Some people see it and they don't trust it. No, that's just what we've heard from other people. You know?
But she does always have it on a leash.
We don't know. This is the first time I've ever seen the dog.
Never
Okay.
seen them out at
We
all.
we didn't know where the woman lived until a few days afterwards, and neighbors told us.
I think that
We didn't even know the lady's name.
the dog is not a pet. That I think it's a guard dog. Is what I think, and it just.
Ron?
is that-
And sorry, before I forget, there is a witness in Palmerston who saw the whole thing happen. The ironic thing is, her little boy used to come out when we were walking Maggie, and he would come over and he would pet Maggie. And this mother is so thankful that the little boy did not see this happen to Maggie like she did. But I think the woman's just a little hesitant, reluctant to get involved.
Ron?
And I can't force her.
Did the shepherd make any move towards you when you tried to separate?
No, it looked like it had its agenda was to attack this
Dog.
little dog, didn't provoke anything, and then it happened so fast, very quickly.
Judy?
Thank you, Mayor. And I too am sorry for your loss. It's it's the worst day of being a pet owner, that's for sure. So I just want clarification of something, because I think you said that you didn't know where she lived for a couple of days, but I think you also said that she was hiding behind her car or something. So I'm just wondering, I missed something in there. Do you know what I mean?
The car's hardly there. Some days you see it, and some days you wouldn't.
We had never seen the woman before. When we got home and all the dust started to settle, I was starting to think this woman was just visiting, or she had pulled in there and then she took. I'd never seen her before. No, never.
So she does live there though. No, but
Yeah.
you didn't know at the time. I think that's what he's saying, Judy.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you
Oh,
didn't,
okay.
he didn't know that's where she actually lived. She wasn't
Okay.
just visiting or whatever.
Okay.
Never really had any other times.
Throughout the whole thing, she just stood beside her card, almost like she was hiding, and she didn't want to admit that her
Okay.
dog did something it shouldn't.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
I just have one.
Yep.
Seen her since?
No,
No,
Okay.
we have not.
All right.
Okay.
She seems to be in hiding, and we think, I don't know.
well, we hear she's out of town again or something.
I think that's what I think the clerk's department, she is. That's why she couldn't be here.
Well,
We have her letter.
Just a couple. Are you neighbors? Is she a neighbor of yours? Do you live on the same street?
The next street over.
Next
we're
street.
Daly. And this was at the corner of Daly and Norman.
Okay.
Down by the Presbyterian Church, right?
And she says she didn't see it. Could she have not seen it? Like, I'm thinking if you're there and you have a dog and it's gotten away and you're supposed to be putting in a car, you'd be looking to see where the dog is
That's
going, because
right,
supposedly you're going to retrieve it because you're not supposed to have your dogs running loose.
And if
But she said she didn't see it.
Why didn't she yell Daisy? Why
Mhm.
didn't she yell Daisy?
And even everybody else that lives around the area, they heard the commotion. They heard Maggie yelping and squealing,
Mhm.
reflecting the pain that she was in. But she just stayed back and made no effort to come up to us.
I think we've got to, thank you. It's hard to go through it, I know, and if you want to just take your seat and then we'll continue on.
Thank you.
Now, Bill, the recommendation is to this appeal if we want to overturn.
Right. If I may,
If you want to clarify that, Bill, for us.
the decision before council is whether this dog is dangerous or not, and whether any of those terms of a dangerous dog designation ought to be modified. We have had one other of these situations, but that was on a farm on the property where the dog lived. This dog emerged on the public property, and so there's a big difference between the two.
Ron, and then
Yeah, I just have a question for Terry. When you read the bylaw or whatever, I don't recall hearing the word muzzle.
Yeah,
Oh,
there.
It's in there.
Sorry,
muzzle there?
Yeah, I
It's in the
definitely
thing.
I overlooked that, but yeah, part of the provisions are with the dangerous dog designation. Anytime it's out of the
Out of
enclosure
the
or
thing, it'd
house,
be muzzled.
it has to be muzzled, regardless
Thank you.
if it's on a leash or
I
not.
just wanted to make sure that was in there. That's all.
Judy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Terry. Do you know if, or Cam, I'm not sure who. So this was about 5-ish weeks ago that this order was put on. Do we know if any of this has been complied with? Like, are there signs up?
Until the appeal's heard, it doesn't have to be implemented. Like
Oh,
she
none
had,
of it has to be
no,
implemented.
she had 3 days to file her appeal notice, and then
Oh, I
council
see,
has
okay.
15 days to meet. So it would, if she got everything in place, then really we wouldn't even have to meet this. So it's essentially it's putting the order in hiatus until a decision tonight is made, and then she's got to get the items, all the items or the items that are left, in compliance with.
Oh, okay.
Ron and then Gene.
Okay. What happens if the owner refuses to comply? If this is designated, and how will you check to see whether there's compliance?
If they don't comply, then there are provisions in the bylaw for either set fines or we could part 3 her and take her to court. Really, the next step after this is legal action against her.
So how will we know whether they comply or not?
Cam gets the lovely job of following up.
Yep.
Great.
Gene?
Just a question about rabies. Do we know, has the dog been quarantined to be checked for rabies if there was an unprovoked attack? And are they required? I know the last one that we had to follow up on, that was one of the conditions that they had to make sure the dog was vaccinated.
That was a bite on a human.
Okay.
So public health would be involved in that.
Yeah.
And that as soon as that happens, it's reported. Then Sylvia gets notice, and the dog is quarantined.
All right, but not if they bite another animal. Okay.
Mary Lou?
Yes, I feel so sorry for your loss, and I guess from a personal point of view, we had a Shih Tzu, and they're wonderful animals. I do know our Shih Tzu was so friendly, though, that she went to every dog that was out there, and I was walking her one day, and someone yelled at me to pull her back because he'll eat her for breakfast. And I just wonder, the fact that the dog did not approach you in any sort, if a dangerous dog is a little too severe. If, we looked, is there a way that we could force Miss Fell to always keep a muzzle on the dog when it is out of the home?
We pass it.
Yeah, but without all the other stipulations?
Okay.
That is within council's purview to do that. If they want, I think they're outlined on the screen and on the town letter. The first one is to keep the dog confined on the property, and there's terms of that. The second is to muzzle the dog when it's not confined. The third is to have the liability insurance. The fourth is that they microchip the dog, and the fifth that they post a sign.
So I'm for the first two. I have a little issue that I wonder if the others are a little severe. I mean, that the fact that the dog did not approach or hurt the humans, especially under the circumstances, you would have been distraught. And you'd think that would make the dog attack Mr. Cheeseman, which he did not.
Can I say something? All the people that we've talked to about this experience have said, what if that had been a child? And this dog took it upon itself to what a child.
And maybe if I could, Terry, I think the big thing is when we get down to liability here. The staff have looked at it, made a recommendations. I think as this council, we have to be very careful of continue to overturn these things a little bit, because I don't think you do this without thinking it through and doing some investigation, which I don't think there's anything onerous there. If you're in that situation, you really want to continue to have the dog there. I myself have had to put a dog down that bit somebody, and it's not an easy thing, but you can never trust again. That's my problem. Once there's a kill, then the trust factor comes in, and I really worry about whether, and I don't think there's anything there that if the person wanted to still keep the dog, they can still abide by it.
Yeah. As bylaw enforcement under the provisions of the bylaw, our hands are tied that we can't just specifically put on a couple of the conditions. It's an all or nothing. So yes, we did weigh it heavily, but we don't have the authority to waive different things. I would like to mention that the $1 million liability insurance is extremely hard to get. Yeah. Just for the fact I don't know too many insurance companies that if there's a history of this dog eating another dog, that they want to take on that liability as part of their package. So that is a difficult one to get. If she can't achieve that, really her only option is to get rid of the dog. So just to think.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Bridge. Terry, I was going to say that. I've been around dogs forever as well, and I think this is a fairly dangerous dog. It was unprovoked, and I agree. I mean, if that had been a kid, Halloween night, whatever, it would be totally different. But in this particular case, it was a dog, and I agree. I mean, if she wants to keep the dog, she needs to look after the dog. It wasn't the dog's fault that the dog was loose. It was her fault, and so she needs to look after her dog. And if we break the rules a little bit and make it a little more lenient for her, we'll be doing that all the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm in favor of it as written.
Okay.
Sorry, I just have one more question. Is going over this letter. She says she actually came and took the dog from you and examined your dog. No. Okay. Because here it says, but I mean, she readily admits as well that she let go of her dog's leash. So I feel bad that the dog is going to pay the price for the owner's irresponsibility. You have a dog. It's up to you to control it.
That's right.
But in this letter, she states that she looked the dog.
German Shepherd.
Yeah, she couldn't find any marks on him.
Should be muzzled.
Right?
Right.
It said,
From the time we left the scene of the mess, and I'm carrying Maggie home and get a handle. Neighbors who knew something was going on but didn't see a thing, they saw the I call them saddle pouches on each side of her underbelly. So they were there.
Wrap this up.
This lady just doesn't know what she's talking about.
Can I have a motion to accept the recommendation? Councillor Turton, Councillor Elliott, all in favor? Okay. So you have your instructions.
Designation stands as proposed?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. And I will now adjourn the hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Council.
Thanks for coming. Okay, where are we now?
Yeah, I know. It's a terrible. I just need to.
And we have a delegation.
Yep, right for here.
And we have a delegation. The Earl and Carolyn Savage. Would you like to come up? There's a cute little dog. There's another little dog right there.
Oh, is that a
Denali,
picture of
a little
Maggie?
dog?
No, that's
This timing isn't real.
That's not a picture.
no. This is our next delegation,
Okay.
and I will let the delegation speak further.
So unfortunately, my wife couldn't be here. This is my daughter, Samantha.
Oh, hi, Samantha.
We're coming to you today because we're looking at and are interested in a property on Blind Line. My wife and I have been breeding dogs for 20 years, actually over 20 years now, and we would like to move to the Minto area and continue our business, but the property in question doesn't meet all the requirements for a kennel. So I've come here today to see if we can start an amendment process or something to alter the law, or try to see if we can get an exception.
I own property right beside it.
Wow, it's up to you.
I don't know.
not making any money.
Mayor Bridge?
Mhm.
We have Terry here.
I was going to say
Maybe
Terry's going to
explain
make a
maybe
comment.
explain the rules for.
Yeah.
kennels.
So the subject property is 7 acres. The minimum requirements in our dog licensing bylaw is 10 acres. There's distance to receptors in it as well. For those unfamiliar with the property, the distance to receptors is not an issue. The minimum distance is 492 feet, and this is well more than that. The current bylaw does not have any exemption process built in it for properties that don't comply to the kennel provisions. So Mr. Savage is here tonight to request that you direct staff to amend the bylaw to allow for certain exemptions built in. The reason I was involved with the kennel bylaw when it was developed in 2005, council at the time specifically directed us not to put in an exemption process in it, being that we had a rather large breeding kennel be proposed right before the bylaw got passed. So the proposal at that time, not saying it reflects Mr. Savage's proposal at all, but was for 120 breeding dogs. So it was a large operation, and council at the time was afraid that if we had a window in there for people to apply for an exemption, then we may have more and more of that style of business.
Oh, you're killing us.
Yeah, I was going to say, be impartial.
I have a conflict now.
Inducement.
May I just ask how many dogs you do plan on having in the kennel?
We currently have 22.
And what would you say would be the maximum at any?
Generally around that number. Now, we do have dogs that come and go a lot. We do show dogs. So we go to the Canadian Kennel Club, is the governing body for purebred dogs, which is run by Agriculture Canada. So we're part of that process. We go to dog shows. We show our dogs to championships, so that we have we're showing that we got good quality dogs. We do have a couple of pictures. I don't know if you need to see them of us showing dogs this year, Chinese crested, and one of our miniature poodles. We have around 22. You get puppies, and then they come and go. We foster out dogs to other people so that we don't want a kennel situation. I don't want a building on the property and they're all in cages. Most of these dogs all live in the house. We have a couple that are in a kennel situation, but mostly they live in the house with us.
So the only exemption that it would be necessary is the 10 to the 7 acres?
As long as the numbers are kept less than 25. That's our current
25?
cap in the dog licensing bylaw for kennels.
Is that an issue with you? Or
No, that's not an issue, no.
Obviously, you have horses as well.
Yes. So, this property works for us because not only do we have the dogs, but we have miniature horses. Yeah. As you can see, we show them and drive them as part of the what is it?
AQH.
AQ?
No,
that's quarter horse.
Yeah.
Miniature horse
Association.
Yeah, AMHA. Sorry.
AMHA.
AMHA and AMHR.
So we show them as well, and the property works great for the miniatures. We do have a couple larger quarter horses still that we pleasure ride and things.
Maybe I wasn't listening properly, but where don't you meet the criteria on this property?
The acreage.
It's the acreage.
So that's all it is.
That's all it is.
Yes.
Just one other sort of complicating factor. I think what we're looking for is that whether council is willing to consider this or not, and we would bring the bylaw back if and when the property was actually secured.
Right. So we currently have a working offer in place that we're going back and forth. Currently, we don't have that finalized yet.
Right. So we'll be revisiting this, but I think you're just getting a flavor from the council whether there's an opportunity to.
Yeah. If you say there's no opportunity, then I'd be calling my agent.
Is anybody?
Through you, Mayor Bridge. Terry, just so for clarification in my mind, the only thing that has to be done is the bylaw rescinded?
No.
Just amended.
Just amended. So essentially what we need to insert into the bylaw is some sort of an exemption process. So for other individuals who may
come forward with the same.
Yeah, who may not meet certain provisions, I would like, if that's council's decision, I would like a recommendation or a direction to staff to determine whether it's a wide open exemption that you can apply for exemptions under every single provision in the bylaw, or whether it's specific to acreage or distance to receptors. If it's a blanket exemption, we could, and not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, another kennel with 120 breeding dogs in it. So it's going to open the window totally wide open for all of those applications.
Go ahead, Bill.
And Terry and I have discussed it at length, but I think, just to make it simple, I think we would prefer that this be an exemption for this site only.
Yeah.
And probably for this operator only if we can.
Yes.
And then if we can deal the same for anyone else.
Yep.
I like
That
that.
sound good with you, Terry?
Yes.
That sound like something the council would agree to?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we should do.
Yeah. Jean?
I just have a question. 22 dogs, is that breeding stock or is that dogs including pups? Like, what would be the maximum number of dogs you would ever end up with?
Well, it's 22 currently.
Okay.
Not everybody's breeding stock. We do have, as my wife calls it, the geriatric ward, who are older dogs that we just can't part with, so they're with us. But it's not all breeding stock.
So when you are having litters of pups, though, does
Yeah.
the number get beyond that 22? Like it's 22 now.
Well, we have the mums with us.
Right.
Generally, we like to foster out the boys.
Okay.
So that they're not with us, and because when the mums are ready for breeding, they can go a little squirrely. So we like to foster out. So the boys would come home to us for a few days and then go back to their families.
Right.
So then we would have puppies.
Right.
So generally the puppies would be sold by the time they're 8 to 10 weeks of age.
Right.
Depending, as long as they're ready to go, that's when they would leave. But we wouldn't be bringing in 5 dogs and doing breeding, and it's kind of our number of where we're at.
And if I remember correctly, the bylaw speaks to that, right? Number
Yes.
of pups and an age.
No, it's 25 breeding dogs, but
Yeah.
it does also allow for pups under
up
the
to a
age
certain
of 6 or 9 months to be excluded out of that 25. So having the dogs there for 10
There
weeks is
could be
not
quite
an
a
issue.
few more
Yep.
dogs than
Yep.
22 when you were having pups
Yep.
waiting to go home.
But that
So on average, a miniature poodle litter is 4 to 5 puppies.
Right. Okay. So in theory, there could be 100 dogs at some point in time.
In theory, I wouldn't want to look after that, but yeah.
Well, babies
Yes.
come along. They're blessings that surprise us occasionally
Yep.
in numbers and times. So you just never know. Just trying to get a handle on what the total could be there.
So, but overall, the direction is to have staff look at this site-specific.
It's the
Okay.
perfect spot for it.
Have you got enough direction, Terry, on that?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Bridge, might I ask just for a resolution that upon there being an agreement of purchase and sale, that staff bring forward wording for an exemption for this use for this owner?
Perfect. Yeah. You want to make that motion?
Sure.
Ron, second by Mary Lou. All in favor? Great. Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck on your negotiations.
Thanks.
We really are
Okay.
doing different things
Have a good
today.
night.
Yeah, we are doing different things. Okay,
What next?
public question period. Right?
This is all your fault.
We have the public question period. Has anybody got a question? All right, moving on. Correspondence received.
One day he's gonna.
Oh, I know. One day, well, he's asked questions all the time, but he doesn't ask them afterwards. Okay. Now we're into correspondence received. Has everybody had a chance to look at the correspondence? Anything you want to discuss out of that? Motion to accept the correspondence. Councillor Turton, Councillor Elliott, all in favor? Okay, moving up reports, committee minutes. James Way board meeting, we had that up there. Anything on that, Councillor Anderson?
Not that I'm aware of. Everything's going swimmingly as usual.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion to accept the minutes?
Is that appropriate for me to make a motion to accept? the meeting?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure, okay.
Okay, and moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Dirksen, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Staff reports. Chief Building Inspector, Inspector, did I say Inspector? CBO, official. Yes, I'm going to be in trouble with that, aren't I? Oh, okay.
True so.
Being that my report looks so good, I'm going to come.
I
up
know,
here
I know.
and-
You
so
just like to
nice and close.
brag. I noticed the one day you weren't showing up, and it was a couple back, and it was, I think, around the flying match time, and I think,
It was negative.
yeah, somebody, and then you didn't show to give your report.
I know. I kind of consolidated them till I started looking good. I was a little tied up.
Okay.
Make them look
Oh,
good.
it's a good one. Go ahead.
So things are looking good still so far. So at the end of October, we had 185 permits worth a little under 16 million. So permit numbers compared to last year were definitely up. Value is lower, but that's based on a couple of really big projects that came through last year. So all in all, yeah, we're second highest value in the past 10 years for amount of construction going on, and we're tied with the top in 10 years for a number of permits issued. So I got a few good projects came in today, so next month will look good as well.
Excellent. And I think there was one question I think somebody asked the last time, and we couldn't get because Terry wasn't here. Institutional ones where I believe the library and the medical center.
Correct. Yep.
Were
Yep.
the two
So
big
those
ones
were
last
the-
year that
they
were there.
Big ones. So if you took those two kind of actually out of the picture, we're ahead of what we were last year. So
No, it's all good news. Excellent. Any questions for Terry?
doing well.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, seconded by Councilor Dirksen. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you very
Terry.
much.
Keep up the good work. It's nice to have your staff back, eh?
It definitely is.
And how many tents you did last? Did you do any tents last week?
Not last week.
That's good. That's good. You'll be happy about that. CO clerk. Yeah, what we got here? I got my thing up here. Standard Community Improvement Plan Agreement. This is one that Bill's going to take on.
All right. This standard community improvement plan agreement was recommended by the Economic Development and Planning Committee as a condition of giving direct grant allocations to some of the major buildings that have been renovated in our community as a result of that program. Essentially, the purpose of the agreement is to secure those improvements for a period at a time. In other words, it would be really sad, and I know our owners that we're dealing with would not do this, but if someone were to get a sizable grant to preserve a heritage building and then within a year or so put aluminum siding up the side or take the windows out that were or heritage or whatever. So we discussed this agreement at Economic Development Committee last Thursday. On page 2 of your report, there are several bullet points that describe what the agreement does. Basically, for obvious reasons, we want people to be up to date on their taxes. So we don't want to be handing them money when they owe taxes. No liens or contractor payments on the property. Excuse me, and no bylaw infractions that are outstanding. The 5-year term basically says that we would have them sign the agreement and they would agree to keep the improvements resulting from the grant for up to 5 years. Now, Economic Development and Planning Committee recommended that be upwards of 10 years. So we're looking at 5 to 10 years. We'll be approaching the two owners that received those grants and suggesting that it would be for 10 years, that they would maintain those improvements. If they sell the lands, we'd like at least 20 days notice so that we can talk to the new owner about what has been done on the land. Work that is being done or being maintained has to be in accordance with the building code. We always have the right to go on the property and inspect, and they need our permission if they're going to do work that requires them to work on our roadway. Under a 5-year agreement, they would pay 20% of the grant back for each year the approved works are not maintained. If you have a 10-year agreement, then that would be 10%. So let's say the old post, if there's a new owner and they decide to do something different with the building than what was in the grant, then and there's a 10-year agreement and they do it 7 years down the road, we would get 30% of the grant back. The agreement also allows you to charge that against the lands in a manner to taxes. So if they don't pay that, then that goes as an impediment on the property. So we would hope that if they are going to change the building to any great extent, they would honor the reasons why they received the grant in the first place and pay whatever the agreement requires, pay that back. There's a liability insurance provision there. If there were ever anything to happen on the building as a result of the construction and lawsuits were flying and someone found out that you had given a grant, town could be named. This provides some protection in the event that were to happen. It allows the agreement to be registered on title for the lands. It allows us to go in and correct any emergency deficiencies within 24 hours. And it allows for termination with 30 days notice by the town. So we're recommending this be applied to grants over $5,000. So we're not talking about the smaller facade grants. So our recommendation is that you support that standard agreement, and then we would propose it to the ones that have received funding. One of them, the Old Post, have looked at it and are generally happy with it and have no issues. So we think we'll have cooperation at the owner level to get this. And that would be needed before we advance any monies to the Old Post on their next grant amount.
Questions for Bill? I think it's a well done report, Bill, and
Really well.
it just strengthens that whole procedure. So I know the Economic Development Committee, we're quite pleased with it, and we're following up on a couple of their suggestions. So motion to accept. Councillor Anderson, Councillor Churton, all in favor? Carried. I turn it over to the treasurer. Not up to the treasurer, to the chair of the finance and the treasurer. He's coming up.
There we go.
And nice to see him back. And turn it over to you, Councillor Caldwell.
The Finance Committee has 3 items on the agenda tonight, and the first one is minutes of settlement and assessment adjustments. And I'll turn it over to Treasurer Duff to please review them.
So now I'll undo all the good work that Terry's done, and we'll decrease our assessment. This one's kind of an interesting one. We have on the schedule, we have the minutes of settlement, and these are the more normal ones that you're used to seeing, where we have property flipping back to the farmland after a sale or whatever, or we've had a barn come down or something. And those are all initiated by the taxpayer too. So we have those, and they total $2,123 for everything. Then we have amended property notices, and in general, those are initiated by MPAC, and that's after they've reviewed some of their classifications and that too, that they make decisions. Now, I always say you'll never see anything positive. Well, we have some positives, although they're so small not to get excited. $7 and the $34. And that's basically, they've looked at the amount of tax incentive land, as they call it, such as a wetland or managed forest, and they've decreased that a bit and added it to the taxable portion. But that is much more than offset by the changes in residential and especially a change in the development parcel. So the overall effect is a negative $25,000, and our share is $10,239 on that. So
I guess we're all questioning the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you explain
I
that?
thought you would, because I go,
And that was my question. That's quite an error.
Yeah.
Yeah. So without getting into too much specifics, Janet did provide me with a map.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
And
If you're not questioning it, I won't.
well, I mean, I'm very disappointed with it.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a part of an undeveloped subdivision that when they first assessed it, they treated it that way. However, it's back into residential now. Why they went that way, I don't think Minto's ever had that under development. At least in my time, they never have.
They just made a mistake and
Yeah.
made it a subdivision which wasn't ever
That's
developed, and
Yeah.
it shouldn't be. And I could see why, if I was the landowner, that when I got that tax bill, I'd be going, "What?
Right. 10 times higher than I thought.
So this is brand new to them for the first time this year.
It's actually been triggered by a sale.
Yeah.
And yeah, because the land has been under that for, I'm going to say 20 plus years.
Really?
Yeah. So Anyway,
So they've
so
been
it's
paying
there.
taxes too high for.
Oh, no,
No.
no. It's always been residential. Then the
Okay.
sale took place and it went into this
Some reason.
farmland under development. It's very similar to the ones on the top of the page where you've got a farm, sometimes been around for 100 years, and it flips to residential, and then they make the corrects and
Right.
goes there. So anyway, lots
Okay.
of ups and downs, mostly downs. But anyway, yeah.
Are there any other questions?
No job.
Then the recommendation is the council receives the November 2016 report from the treasurer and tax collector regarding assessment adjustments and that these adjustments be approved. Excuse me. Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen. All in favor? Thank you. And then we have a lease agreement.
Right. So this
With
is
Clifford Library?
the Clifford Library, the portion where it's a county-owned building. The town of Minto rents from the county on the medical side, and we in turn lease it out to the family health team and doctors and social services. So this is, I guess, the third term, if you like, for this one. We started in 2006. We had a renewal in 2011, and now we have one in 2016, 2017. Our staff and county staff have had a lot of discussions on this one, and as you probably recall, our tenants are kind of restricted too, and they weren't able to increase their rent. However, the county has put through an increase. They're doing this on all similar properties. Percentage-wise, it's a large increase right now, but they're agreeing to hold to this dollar figure for the term, and it's 5 years with a 5-year renewal. And I believe it's come to county council.
Yeah, it's gone to
as
county
well,
council.
too,
And it's
so-
just been the standard. Arthur was a typical one, just was before us.
That's
and
right.
Did the same thing. No increases until the lease was up, and then they've increased it.
That's right too. And then we always have a reconciliation at the end of the year, so that's where your utilities and cleaning and that come on too. So again, if this is approved, I will mention it to our tenants and just see if there's any flexibility on their behalf at the next renewal on their side. So where we're at.
Okay, are there any questions? Can I just ask, are you concerned we may lose tenants in regards to the increase, or?
No, because right now we're absorbing the increase. So it's more our subsidy, if you like, to providing medical services is going to be increased a bit.
Yep. And that's my point. My point being, if they're hopefully they'll realize in the next budget that they have to do, they hope to give a bit back. But if we don't, we're dealing with because it breaks even now approximately.
Approximately, yeah.
So we're dealing with
Yeah.
the $5,000. But in my mind, you have a family health care group up in. That's a pretty cheap thing if we had to go out and try to recruit doctors and get people in there. So I think this council has to look at it.
Yeah.
We'll try, and I think
Definitely.
through you, Gord, we're going to try to push to get the tenants to give us a bit more money because, in fairness, we didn't have an increase, so we haven't been giving them increases, but now we have an increase. Now we should be trying to get them to come to the table a little bit. But I guess worst comes to, if you want to play hardball and say that you don't, then you're gone. But I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
$5,000.
We've always had the economic development of what do people look for. It's schools, childcare, medical services.
One of the things that why Clifford is actually booming right now is that we can offer the library, we can offer a medical center. Not a lot of small towns have that. We have all those things in place, and to lose one of them over $5,000, I wouldn't be. That's probably a good subsidy.
Are there any questions? Then the recommendation is the council receives the November 4th, 2016 report from the treasurer and a bylaw authorizing signing of the lease be considered in open session. Councillor Turton, Deputy Mayor Faulkner, all in favor? And the motion is passed. And the final item is the approval of accounts.
Right.
Oh, this one.
So all right, my friend keeps spending all the money. Most of it in one invoice, $166,000 on the Jane and Inkerman project, and that one's still, as you know, probably right in the middle of the term, and it's going to be lots of expenses there. Also been doing more tree cutting for about $11,000. We've been doing some engineering in the wastewater division for about 11,000. Clifford Arena plumbing upgrades for 7,000, and some renovations at the Palmerston Arena, it's a small 2,700. So those are the major items.
And the 106 in men, is that anything special?
Not really. That's
No?
just the
Regular-
payroll and the regular stuff. There are some legal bills, about 3,600, to do with our appeal, which may be a bit extraordinary, but yeah, the rest is fairly
Are there any
normal.
questions for the treasurer? No? Then the recommendation is the council of the town of Minto receives the treasurer's report dated November 15th regarding approval of accounts and approves the town of Minto accounts by department for October-November 2016. Councillor Councillor Elliott.
Thanks. Thank God you didn't
Seconded by Mayor Bridge. All in favor? I'm sorry. This was
All right,
totally
it's time for
blank.
you to turn it back over.
It is.
I'm
I
glad-
turned it
Falling
back
apart
over
here.
to
You're
Mayor
falling
Bridge.
apart on me.
Who knows our names? I knew Ron. I couldn't get your last name.
That's all right.
That makes me feel better. I do that.
You'll answer to most things, right, Ron?
Yeah.
Okay. Public Works. There, I got it right there. Yeah, go ahead. Councillor Turton.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Got a couple of fine-looking young men waiting on.
Just one coming up.
See, there's only one coming.
So today we've got one item. Nice looking tie.
How's the tooth?
Tooth is better.
Oh yeah, that's good.
So today we've got one item. Sorry?
He was long in the tooth last
We've got one item on the Public Works agenda, and it's a little housekeeping. We do this every year, but we've got a big increase from the county, and we thank them for that. It's a winter maintenance contract on Wellington County Road 2 and 3. So, Brian, you want to?
Yeah, basically, it happens every year. It's a town and county, county road 2 and 3 for winter maintenance work. Sand and salt and farmland. That's basically it. There's a big increase, like I said, $500 a kilometer.
Any questions?
Such a great job last year.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to know they appreciate the work that you do. They come back with an increase. Any questions on this? So the recommendation is the council receive this report from the Public Works Director regarding the winter maintenance contract, County Roads 2 and 3, and the council accepts the compensation of $7,500 per kilometer for 16-17 winter season from the County of Wellington. Can we have a mover? Councillor Anderson. Seconder, Deputy Mayor Faulkner. All in favor of this motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Pass the chair back to our mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Turton. And other business as disclosed, and I've got Ron and Judy. So Judy, you want to start?
I said if nobody else takes it, so I guess
Well,
I'm
that's why I
first,
thought
then nobody's going to take
first.
it.
Then somebody else.
So I was just going to comment on the Remembrance Day services. The Legion in Herristown did a great job. I attended that one because I kind of have to, but I'm sure Palmerston's was wonderful as well. And also we have 3 Christmas parades coming up, and I'll let somebody else do the rest of that one. How's that?
Just a comment on the Remembrance Day. I did Palmerston, and it's the one that you have to stand out there for the whole time in the cold. But certainly everybody was really appreciative of the new cenotaph area from the library and what we had. So they had a great turnout. I know they had a great turnout in Harrison, and it's nice to see the students come down. It's nice to see the scouts out and the cadets and no, it's really
terrific.
And then on Clifford, because we haven't met since Clifford, your replacement in Clifford did an excellent job.
I know, she's fantastic.
She is, and I did comment on that, and but it's nice for her that she did that, and it's good.
Yes, we were unavoidably away.
I know.
Question care as well.
Okay, Ron.
Yeah, just want to report that I mentioned that Belinda Wick may be speaking at OSM. It appears, yes, she is. She's going. We have an Amafra slot we have every year with with her Oatsum convention, and she will be speaking in the Mafra slot. Agenda or what they wish to speak to is still up in the air. So where they're moving towards is between Belinda and Mafra right now. So I just want to comment. That's exactly what OSUM's all about. That's the kind of grassroots things that you get when you attend the OSUM conference, and all the background will be for communities like us. So I'm really happy that Belinda gets to speak because she's got a lot to offer, and we're fortunate to have somebody like that.
It's a Collingwood.
It's in, they want to say Blue Mountain. They get
I know.
angry.
Collingwood, Blue Mountain, yeah. Councillor Caldwell.
Just a reminder that the Chamber of Commerce Social is December the 5th at Terry Stone, 6 p.m. Everyone welcome. And we ask if you would bring an item for the food bank.
Ron?
I just want to say I'm going to let Councillor Turton introduce his own grandchildren, but future perhaps councillors and
Yes.
of the town of Minto, and welcome Alita Marie Faulkner, November 14th.
I know. That's a long
Very
handout
proud of
for
that.
her.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Congratulations to both of you. But
David can
go ahead,
introduce
David. You
his-
want to do your bragging?
Oh, there she is. There's Alita.
Oh, you got pictures. Oh my gosh. There you go.
That's my granddaughter.
There you go.
He could give birth himself.
Yeah, sure.
I think so.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. I'd like to introduce a couple of little beauties as well. Two females, November 12th, Saturday morning.